On Christmas Eve 1928 at the Sheridan Square Movie Theatre, Pittsburgh, a month-old baby was found, abandoned.
Oh, my. Oh, Lord, what have we here?
Please take care of my baby. Her name is Catherine. I can no longer take care of her. I have 8 others. My husband is out of work. She was born on Thanksgiving Day. I have heard of the goodness of show business people, and I pray to God that you will look out for her. The letter was signed, a heartbroken mother. This was also, of course, the roaring 20s. The explosion in the entertainment industry was led by the booming movie business. As it was a business where men were frequently moved around the country to distribute and market their product, social clubs attached to cinemas and theatres began to spring up. These clubs provided a meeting place where show business folk could gather, play cards, talk about the industry, and who knows, perhaps even defy prohibition.
In October 1927, such a club was formed in Pittsburgh by 11 men from all branches of show business. They called their club Variety because that best described the range of entertainment activities that the members were involved in: cinema, theatre, circus and ice shows. The first president of the club was an entrepreneur called John Harris, who owned the city's ice rink and staged spectacular shows called ice capades. He also owned the Sheridan Theatre, the cinema which was to play such a major part in Variety's history.
The members met regularly in a very small room at the prestigious William Penn Hotel. As the club approached its anniversary, its members prepared for their first annual dinner, and soon realized that their small clubroom would not accommodate the 80 guests who had already bought tickets, so they hired the penthouse ballroom instead.
Now faced with the problem of filling enough space for 1,100 people, the club members drew on their expertise as showmen. They erected a big top tent inside the ballroom itself. They arranged side shows around the room and on the balcony. They covered the floor with sawdust and so created a circus imagery which was vividly captured by a Pittsburgh newspaper artist on the cover of the menu for that first annual dinner. That imagery is still used by the Variety Club worldwide. Each branch of the club is called a tent, a name inspired by that very first big top in the William Penn Hotel, and each tent is run by a chief barker, supported by crew members with circus names. This image of the barker's sense of fun was to become the hallmark of the Variety Club. Right from the start, the harp motif was adopted by the Variety Club. It reflects both the motto of the charity, the heart of show business, and echoes the message at the end of the letter, originally found with the baby Catherine. When the search for Catherine's mother proved fruitless, the 11 founding fathers, as they became known, took a major decision that was to be the turning point for the Variety Club as we know it today. They decided to temporarily adopt the baby by raising funds for her care and education. They named her Catherine Variety Sheridan. Variety after the club itself, and Sheridan after John Harris's cinema where she was found.
I remember very clearly many weekends going to John Harris's parents' home, and it was a very happy family atmosphere, many children running around and adults. I would be cuddled and loved from one lap to the other, and it was really a very lovely memory.
6 years after she was abandoned in that cinema in Pittsburgh, Catherine Variety Sheridan was adopted. Only 2 men knew what her new name was going to be and where she was going to live. They never revealed that information. And so the little girl disappeared into anonymity.
If John Harris was in town, I would see him, but he was uncle to me. Nobody knew it, everybody else who was in the theater world, and I really respect John for that. But even when I was in California and visited him, there were a lot of well-known people like Disney, Walt Disney. I'm still his niece.
Joan's route to California, when Variety came back into her life, started more than 40 years after she had disappeared into anonymity.
I got a letter from my parents' lawyer, my adopted parents' lawyer. It was rather strange. In the letter, if I recall, it said something, he said, "Joan, I'm miffed. I don't know who these people are, but they're trying to track down you." And in the letter was a telephone number to call in New York City. And I called the man. whose name was Morton Sunshine. I didn't believe anybody would have a name, Sunshine. And he got on the phone, and I said, "This is Joan Merlick." And I said, "I hear that you're looking for Joan Riker Merlick?" And there was silence, and I heard this deep breathing. The man nearly fainted. And that was the beginning of, well, it was the end of his search for me. Suddenly, another chapter of my life has been opened. He said International Variety were definitely bickering back and forth, members and tense, because they were beginning to question the validity of the story of my life or my existence. They thought maybe it was just one of those cockamamie Hollywood stories. They were beginning to financially lose money because of the doubts that many people had. That then bothered me. And in respect for John and my parents, I thought they were due their, praise at that point.
The lights in the ballroom slowly dimmed, and then, suddenly, a spotlight picked out a lady at the table at the back of the room. She rose as Monty Hall introduced her. Now Joan Merlick, herself a mother of 4 and living quietly in Charleston, South Carolina. She was also 52 years on, that very same Catherine Variety Sheridan.
I never heard such screaming and yelling in my life, And the room was totally dark except this floodlight on me, from the table, walking down the aisle with Mort Sunshine. I'll never forget. I don't know how I made that aisle. It was really very unnerving. And the people were standing. I didn't know anybody. And I get on the stage there with Monty Hall, and the people all standing, people crying. And then the children came up. And then the people coming up to the stage, shaking hands. It was really amazing. The response was incredible. I'll never forget that.
That special moment in history was to help many millions of children who came after her. However, Joan doesn't think on that scale when she recalls her roots and remembers those 11 men who worked so tirelessly to ensure that she was loved and cared for. Her message to the founding fathers of the Variety Club is a simple one.
Thank you for, thank you for, how do you say it? Thank you for giving me the most wonderful parents that a child could ever have.